At 3 in the morning, I was so hungry that I ordered takeout while home alone. To be safe, I left a note for the delivery driver on my way back. Not home yet? Please leave the food at the door and just take a photo. Half an hour later, the delivery driver sent a message as promised. Hello, I've left your food on the doormat. Please come get it as soon as possible, along with a photo. In the picture, the food had indeed been placed in front of my door. I deliberately waited a few minutes before getting up to collect it. Before opening the door, I glanced at the location tracker on my phone. The delivery driver is currently 0 meters away from you. I froze. The hand that had just reached for the doorknob reflexively pulled back. After refreshing the screen several times, I realized the delivery driver's location hadn't changed at all. The map still showed 0 meters away. Cold sweat began to break out on my back. Anyone who orders takeout frequently knows this. Normally, after the delivery driver places the food at the designated spot and takes a photo as proof, they immediately confirm delivery and move on to the next order. Otherwise, they risk penalties for late delivery. Once the order is completed, the customer can no longer see the driver's location. However, sometimes drivers forget to complete that last step, like now. But even such a small mistake could expose his position, which meant the delivery driver was still standing outside my door. I held my breath and tremblingly pressed my eye to the peephole. Darkness filled my vision. There was no light at all in the hallway. I couldn't see anything. I swallowed nervously. The building's soundproofing wasn't great, and the hallway motion sensor light was very sensitive. Normally, even slightly loud sounds from my living room would trigger it. If someone were really hiding outside my door, they would inevitably make some noise, and the light should turn on. Since the hallway light remained off, maybe no one was actually there. Staring into the pitch-black corridor, I told myself I was probably overthinking it. After waiting a few more minutes, nothing unusual happened outside. I hesitated. This was an old residential building. Most residents had already moved away. Only a handful of households remained, mostly elderly people living alone. My only neighbor on this floor had gone on a long trip a few days earlier. At this hour, the building was completely empty. The entire place was drowned in silence until my stomach growled. Grr. I touched my empty stomach and looked at my phone again. The delivery driver is currently 0 meters away from you. I frowned. There was no reason for a delivery driver to linger outside my door for so long. Could the delivery app's GPS be malfunctioning? That was possible. When I order food, I often track the delivery driver's location. Once, after a driver picked up my order, his location didn't move at all. It stayed 3 kilometers away. I even worried something happened to him. But then, he knocked on my door and handed me my milk tea in person. Only then did I realize the GPS had simply lagged. Maybe tonight was the same situation. Taking a deep breath, I slowly opened the door. The hallway was still quiet. The takeout bag looked exactly the same as in the photo, placed about a meter away from my door on the open floor. I looked around. After confirming there was no one suspicious nearby, I quickly stepped out. But the moment I lifted the bag, click, the sudden sound of a camera shutter came from the stairwell. At the same instant, the hallway's motion sensor light turned on. Cold sweat instantly soaked me. I spun around and rushed back inside, slamming the door shut and locking it as fast as I could. In my panic, my finger got caught in the door frame. I crouched down inside, gasping in pain. Blood began to seep from my finger. I sucked on it and stared at the door. The fear inside me didn't ease at all. I was absolutely certain I hadn't imagined it. There was definitely someone at the stairwell just now, while I was still shaking. My phone vibrated. It was a message from the delivery driver. "Hey, are you at home?" Along with the message came a photo. In the image was my back, slightly hunched in panic, judging from the angle. The person who took it was the one standing by the stairs. When I didn't reply, the delivery driver sent another message. "You said you weren't home, so why did a girl come out to get the food?" My nerves tightened again, fear mixed with anger. Whether I was home or not, what business was it of his? Why wasn't a delivery driver going on to the next order instead of lingering here? Still, I didn't want to provoke him further. I made up an excuse. "I'm not home. My roommate is. She helped me get the food." I thought that would make him leave, but he didn't back off. "Your roommate. She looks pretty good from the photo. Could you introduce us? I'm looking for a girlfriend." "Don't worry. I'll treat her well." My scalp went numb. So that was it. He hadn't left because he had bad intentions. I'd heard stories of delivery drivers flirting with or even harassing female customers. I never thought I'd encounter it myself. The thought that he had been lurking in the dark for so long, secretly photographing me, made me feel sick. I knew that rejecting someone like this was pointless. He might even think I was playing hard to get. So I immediately blocked his number. But doing so meant I could no longer track his location through the app. With no other choice, I stayed still and waited. When I felt he might have left, I mustered my courage and approached the door again. Holding my breath, I peered through the peephole. My heart pounded violently. Sweat dripped from my forehead. I watched for several minutes. No one. Just as I was about to relax, a savage face suddenly filled my view. The man was grinning horribly, his eyes stretched wide as if they might split open at any moment. His eye sockets were deep and dark, his face gaunt, like skin stretched over bone. I was so terrified that my body trembled uncontrollably. I stumbled backward and collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. After calming down slightly, I forced myself to think. So far, the delivery driver had only harassed me. He hadn't physically harmed me yet. If I called the police now, he could easily claim he was just interested in me. At worst, he'd get a warning, and I might even be accused of wasting police resources. After much deliberation, I called the neighborhood security guard, Zhao. Unlike the other older guards, Zhao was under 40. I'd heard he was laid off from a large company years ago and took this job afterward. Fortunately, he had earned well before and invested wisely. So he was already financially independent. Working as a guard was just to pass time. Sal worked out regularly, was tall and muscular, and looked very solid. More importantly, he was kind and always willing to help a genuinely good person in our area. Sure enough, after hearing my description, Zhao agreed without hesitation. "It's fine, miss. I'll go check the hallway right now. If that kid is still there, I'll chase him off. Let's see who dares cause trouble in my territory." I was deeply grateful. From what I'd glimpsed earlier, the delivery driver looked thin. No match for Zhao. Still, to be safe, I said, "Zhao, maybe bring something to protect yourself. Even a stick would do." Zhao laughed loudly. "With my build, what are you worried about? I've seen plenty of delivery guys. Skinny little things. One punch and they're down. Don't worry, I'll be there right away." After hanging up, I felt slightly relieved. All I had to do now was wait for Zhao to chase him away. Bad people are often cowards. The delivery driver only dared to act because he thought I was alone. Once Zhao showed up, he wouldn't dare do anything. I waited patiently. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Thud, thud, thud. The steps were heavy, clearly not a lightweight person. My heart leapt with joy. Sao had arrived. I pressed myself against the door, not wanting to miss a single sound. The footsteps drew closer, but when they reached my floor, The steady rhythm suddenly became chaotic. Then, loud noises came from the stairwell, like two people struggling. My heart raced. I instinctively wanted to go out, but reason stopped me. Against two grown men, I'd be useless. Going out now would only make things worse for Zhao. The struggle lasted less than a minute before everything went silent. The building returned to its deathly quiet. My heart kept pounding. After waiting for a long time with no sound outside, anxiety crept in. What happened to the delivery driver? Did Zhao manage to drive him away? Time dragged on. Just as I was about to despair, Zhao finally called. Trembling, I answered, "Miss, it's okay now." I ran into the delivery guy in the stairwell and restrained him. "Sorry for making you worry so long." I was so relieved I almost cried. The fear that had weighed on me finally lifted. "Thank you so much. Zhao, I'll treat you to a meal sometime." "Oh, no need," Sao interrupted. "Actually, after I taught that kid a lesson, he realized his mistake. He said he'd been single for too long, lost control when he saw a girl, and acted impulsively. He seemed sincere and hardworking. How about this? I'll bring him up so he can apologize to you in person and put this behind us." This? I hesitated. Clearly, Zhao was trying to mediate. I just suffered a huge shock and really didn't want to see the man who caused it. But Zhao had helped me so much, it would be awkward to refuse. In the end, I agreed. "All right, I'll wait at home." Soon, footsteps echoed in the hallway again. I was about to open the door when something felt wrong. Zhao had said he'd bring the delivery driver with him, but the footsteps I heard belonged to only one person, and they were much heavier than before. Could it be that the person coming wasn't Zhao and the delivery driver, but someone else? The footsteps stopped right outside my door. Knock, knock. I looked through the peephole. The man outside was indeed Zhao, but something was terribly wrong. His face was pressed tightly against the peephole, filling my entire view. I couldn't see anything else. His eyes darted back and forth anxiously. His lips were vividly red, like they'd been painted with bright lipstick. Knock, knock. Chai seemed extremely impatient. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but though his lips moved, no sound came out, only saliva clung to them. My unease grew. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a call from Zhao. That was strange. He was clearly standing right outside my door. Why wasn't he speaking directly? Why call me? Instinct told me not to open the door. I stared hard at his face. The familiar face that once made me feel safe now looked horrifyingly strange. Then I noticed it. A tiny streak of bright red blood seeping from the crack in his lips. That red wasn't lipstick. It was blood. Zhao's mouth was full of fresh blood. Realizing this, I nearly screamed, as if confirming my fear. His expression shifted from anxiety to pure terror and despair. A stream of blood ran from the corner of his mouth. Then, suddenly, his neck bent backward like a snapped, dry branch. His terrified face flipped upward and collapsed out of view. Thud. The sound of a human head hitting the floor echoed sharply in the night. I completely lost it. I turned and ran into the innermost bedroom, leaning against the wall, trying to calm myself. But my legs gave out. I collapsed, tears pouring uncontrollably. Zhao was dead. I had caused his death. If I'd called the police from the start, Sao wouldn't have died. Shaking, I grabbed my phone and dialed the police. A female officer answered with a gentle voice. I was so terrified I could barely speak. It took a long time before I managed to explain the situation and my address. "We understand. Officers are on the way. Please stay calm and do not leave your home before they arrive," she reassured me. After hanging up, I still couldn't calm down. Before I could recover, a strange noise came from the living room. Pong! The bedroom door creaked open slightly, and I saw a scene that made my hair stand on end. A sharp axe was slamming in from outside. The blade gleamed coldly, stained with fresh blood. It was raised high, then brought down violently. Pong! A hole appeared in my front door. Through it, I saw half of the delivery driver's face. Come out and play. Don't be scared. If you're my girlfriend, I'll treat you well. Did you reject me because I'm just a delivery guy? His twisted voice echoed. I was terrified out of my mind. I slammed the bedroom door shut and locked it. But I knew it was useless. If he could break down my front door, the bedroom door wouldn't stop him. Getting inside was only a matter of time. Even though the police had told me not to leave, I had to act. If this continued, I would definitely die. I had to find a way to escape. What should I do? If this were the first or second floor, I might dare to risk jumping down. But my apartment is on the 6th floor. Jumping from here would mean certain death. I looked out the window. There it is. I suddenly remembered that a woman in her 50s lived downstairs, surnamed Lee. Everyone usually called her Auntie Lee. She loved growing potted plants. To give them enough sunlight, she had removed the safety bars from her bedroom window and built a small metal platform outside to place the plants. I opened the window and looked down. Sure enough, I saw the platform. Joy surged in my heart. The platform was about half a square meter wide, just enough for me to stand on. Although it didn't look very sturdy, I was light, so it should be able to hold me for a short time. Bung, bung, bung. The noises from the living room continued. I knew I no longer had time to hesitate. So I made up my mind, opened the window, and climbed out. Only then did I realize that it had started drizzling outside. And at that moment, the height of the 6th floor felt terrifyingly real. If I fell from here, I would definitely die. I clung tightly to the window frame, gritted my teeth, and slowly lowered myself down. Lower, lower, until finally my feet touched the platform. The moment both feet landed, I nearly burst into tears from relief. Standing on the platform, I tried to open Auntie Lee's window. Just then, a flash of lightning lit up the dark night, and I suddenly saw someone standing right in front of the window inside the room. I was so startled that I nearly fell off. Luckily, I managed to grab the window frame in time. Girl, why aren't you sleeping at this hour? Sneaking into someone else's home instead. A sharp voice rang out. The window opened, and only then did I realize the person inside was none other than Auntie Lee. I finally let out a sigh of relief and, without bothering to respond to her scolding, hurriedly climbed into the room. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Auntie Lee shouted angrily. I immediately covered her mouth. Auntie Lee, please don't make any noise. I looked at her urgently. Only after she completely calmed down did I let go. She glared at me angrily. I understood how she felt. Anyone would be furious if a stranger climbed into their room through the window in the middle of the night. I must have looked exactly like a burglar, so I quickly and briefly explained my situation. After hearing it, Auntie Lee still didn't fully believe me. You're saying a murderer is trying to break into your home to kill you? She asked suspiciously. I nodded frantically and grabbed her hand. We have to run, Auntie Lee. We won't be safe unless we get out of this building. If I could climb in through the window, then the attacker could do the same. But Auntie Lee didn't move. She spoke hoarsely, her face dark and gloomy. Girl, do you think I can still walk? Only then did I notice she was supporting herself with a cane in her right hand. Her right leg was heavily bandaged and looked seriously injured. Because of my panic earlier, I hadn't noticed at all. Auntie Lee, what happened to your leg? I asked hesitantly. She sighed. I'm old now. My bones are fragile. I fell last month and broke it. After saying that, she sat down on the edge of the bed and turned her face away from me. My heart sank. Our apartment building didn't have an elevator. With her leg in that condition, there was no way Auntie Lee could escape in a short time. But if I left her behind and ran on my own, that would be utterly heartless. I had fled into her home to save myself, dragging her into danger with me. I looked at Auntie Lee sitting there, my heart torn between conscience and survival. In the end, I decided to stay with her and wait for the police together. Just as I made that decision, Auntie Lee suddenly leaned closer, her expression mysterious. Girl, what do you do for a living? You rarely go out, don't you work? I could only shake my head, not knowing how to answer. Elderly people really are like that. Even at a time like this, she still wanted to ask trivial questions. Left with no choice, I answered honestly. I'm a freelance writer, so I don't need to go to an office. Oh, I see. Auntie Lee looked at me deeply, as if she still wanted to ask more. My mind was in complete chaos. I had no patience for small talk, so I quickly changed the subject. Auntie Lee, do you have anything at home we could use for self-defense? Like a kitchen knife? I'll keep it just in case. She looked displeased, but still pointed toward the kitchen. If you want a knife, there's one in the kitchen. I thanked her and hurried in. In the sink, I saw a rusty knife lying there. Without hesitation, I picked it up. But what I didn't expect was that beneath the knife, in the drain, I saw a blood-soaked hand. I screamed instinctively. My grip slipped, and the knife fell to the floor. Was my vision playing tricks on me? No, I stared straight into the sink. It was unmistakably a human hand, a right hand. What on earth was going on? Why was there a human hand in Auntie Lee's kitchen? Just as my mind descended into chaos, a cold voice sounded behind me. Son, deal with her here. I turned around. Auntie Lee had thrown away her cane and was standing perfectly upright. Beside her stood the delivery man, the one who had delivered food to me earlier. Both of them were staring at me with vicious expressions. Look at her, still standing there in a daze, Auntie Lee sneered. The malicious smile on her face looked eerily identical to the delivery man's smile. So the delivery man was Auntie Lee's son. Before I could react, he lunged at me. I screamed, thankfully, because he was holding an axe. His movements were restricted. I twisted my body and barely dodged him. I shoved Auntie Lee away and ran. As she fell, she desperately grabbed my hair. You little bitch! Don't you dare run. The pain brought tears to my eyes. At that moment, I made up my mind. With all my strength, I tore her hand away and continued running. I bolted out of her apartment and sprinted down the stairwell as fast as I could. My face and body were drenched. I couldn't tell whether it was rain, sweat, or tears. Why did Auntie Lee and her son want to kill me? I had no grudge against them. And whose hand was in her kitchen? Was it Brother Zhao's? My thoughts were in complete disarray. I knew I couldn't understand everything. Now, I only knew I had to escape the building as fast as possible. But no matter how long I ran, I never reached the lobby. Something was wrong. I turned on my phone flashlight and shone it on the stairwell wall. The floor number was clearly marked. Fine. I was still on the 5th floor. Why had I been running for so long, yet never left the 5th floor? My last shred of hope completely collapsed. Just then, I heard Auntie Lee and the delivery man's voices behind me. Don't run. Be my girlfriend. You little slut. Who do you think you are? What's wrong with becoming my daughter-in-law? A girl with no proper job, acting all high and mighty. I ignored their words. I didn't even have the luxury of despair. I could only keep running. Though my calves burned with pain and a metallic taste filled my mouth. I forced myself onward through sheer willpower. Suddenly, I slipped and fell down the stairs. I clutched my leg, trying to stand again and again, but failed. My muscles must have been badly damaged. They caught up to me, standing about 2 meters away at the stairwell entrance. They looked down at me. I used my last bit of strength to buy time. Don't come any closer. I've called the police. They'll be here any moment. But one of them burst into laughter. Police? If the police could come, they would have come a long time ago. They looked at me, mockingly, as if I were a fool. I froze. They were right. It had been over 10 minutes since I called. Why hadn't the police arrived? We had made so much noise in the stairwell. Why had no one heard? And the stairs seemed endless. A chilling realization crept over me. Were the people in front of me human or ghosts? What the hell is going on? I screamed. They didn't bother answering. The delivery man raised the axe and charged again. This time, I couldn't dodge. I closed my eyes in despair. But at that very moment, a figure rushed in front of me. Run, run now. It was Brother Zhao. I stood frozen. Wasn't he already dead? I had seen him murdered by the delivery man. Blood everywhere. His head severed. Brother Zhao seemed to understand my confusion. He restrained the delivery man, kicked Auntie Lee away, and shouted at me. There's no time to explain. Don't hesitate, run. This is your only chance to escape. Only then did I notice his right hand was gone. Had he only lost his hand and not died? Everything that had happened tonight was too bizarre. I didn't dare think further. If he told me to run, I couldn't waste time. Strangely, the pain in my leg had completely disappeared. I jumped up and ran down the stairs. Behind me echoed Brother Zhao's desperate cries. Tears streamed down my face. This time, there were no strange floors. Soon, I reached the first-floor lobby. Outside stood a police car. The police had arrived. Overjoyed, I rushed toward it. But the moment I stepped out of the building, I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in a hospital bed. My family and friends surrounded me. There was also a gentle-looking policewoman. My parents were closest. Seeing them, I burst into tears. Thank goodness you're safe. I grabbed my mother's sleeve frantically. Where's Brother Zhao? How is he? Is he in this hospital too? My mother's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. Brother Zhao has already passed away. Passed away. I staggered back in disbelief. He sacrificed himself to save me. I lived. And he died. No, Xiao Yu, my father interrupted softly. In fact, you died too. I died. Panic surged through me. What does that mean? Xiao Yu, do you really not remember anything? Everyone asked anxiously. Suddenly, my head felt like it was splitting apart. I clutched it as memories flooded back like a tidal wave. I finally remembered everything. It turned out that Auntie Lee, her son, and I all lived in the same apartment building. I lived on the 6th floor. Auntie Lee and her son lived on the 5th floor, and Brother Zhao lived on the 7th floor. Auntie Lee's son, Yang Chao, had no higher education or special skills. The year before, he had been given a criminal record for causing trouble, so he couldn't find a proper job and had to make a living as a delivery driver. In contrast, Brother Zhao was a talented young man who worked for a well-known company and earned a high income. By coincidence, Yang Chao once received a delivery order to my place. From the very first time he saw me, he became infatuated and wanted me to be his girlfriend. Even after I clearly rejected him, he refused to give up. Taking advantage of the fact that we lived in the same building, he repeatedly harassed me. I felt miserable. One time, when Yang Chao grabbed me at my apartment door, Brother Zhao happened to see it. Brother Zhao, always warm-hearted and driven by a strong sense of justice, scolded Yang Chao and chased him away immediately. Yang Chao had already been jealous of Brother Zhao's high income, and this incident only made him even angrier. When Brother Zhao was 35, he was laid off. Due to disputes with his former company, he was almost blacklisted in the industry. On top of that, all of his savings were wiped out in a failed stock investment, with no way out. He had no choice but to work as a security guard in the neighborhood. From then on, every time Yang Chao saw Brother Zhao, he mocked and ridiculed him relentlessly. Brother Zhao, who had already lost all hope in life, was pushed further and further by these provocations until he finally chose to end his own life. On the day Brother Zhao jumped from the 7th floor, I was hanging clothes by the window. When he jumped, I tried desperately to grab his shirt, but I was too weak. I couldn't hold on for long and had to let go. I watched him fall to the ground, his body covered in blood. That scene left a deep trauma in my heart. I felt responsible for Brother Zhao's death, and I even developed severe depression. But Auntie Li and Yang Chao did not let me go. Already furious over my rejection, Yang Chao, together with Auntie Li, spread rumors that Brother Zhao and I were in a romantic relationship, that I was his lover. They even said that if I wasn't his lover, why would I be so devastated by his death? They took advantage of people's psychology and knew that Brother Zhao's death lacked clear evidence. So they spread all kinds of vile rumors. Because my job required me to rarely go out, many residents in the building assumed I was unemployed and believed what Auntie Li and Yang Chao said. From then on, even when I went downstairs just to throw out the trash, people would point at me and curse me as a shameless homewrecker. The pressure became unbearable. Already suffering from severe depression, I could no longer endure it, and I made the same choice as Brother Zhao. I stared blankly at everyone around me. So, you invited a priest to perform a ritual for my soul? I asked. My mother nodded through her tears. I fell silent. So that was it. The dreams I had of Brother Zhao, who had been killed by the delivery man, yet came back to life and tried to save me, were meant to help me understand something. Perhaps the ritual was meant to make me realize that Brother Zhao's death was not my fault, but the sin of Auntie Li and her son. If Brother Zhao truly had a soul watching from above, he would never blame me. Before I realized it, tears were already streaming down my face. At once, my body felt incredibly light. When I looked down, I saw that my body was still lying on the hospital bed, but my soul was floating in the air. My family and friends were all looking up at me. I felt anxious. I still hadn't asked my final question. I tried to open my mouth, but no sound came out. Beside me stood the female police officer, her expression full of compassion. Fortunately, she seemed to understand what I wanted to ask. "Don't worry," she said softly. "We have arrested Li Lianxiang and Yang Chao on charges of incitement. I assure you, they will receive the punishment they deserve. I hope your soul will find peace," she continued gently, "and I wish you happiness in your next life." Her voice was soft and calm, just like the policewoman in my dream. I smiled, waved goodbye to everyone below, and then slowly closed my eyes, feeling my consciousness gradually dissolve into this world.